Here we consider the country, the place we stay, everything is a classroom. And so they learn by going and doing. So they're learning by teaching, they're learning by the visits we do, they're learning by talking to people.
I have the great fortune of doing 3 study abroad programs. I do Italy in May, Spain in June, and France in July. All 3 courses involve an academic component that focuses on history and the history of art. But then we combine that with a kind of reflective hiking, so that we also take hikes throughout the countryside in all 3 countries, which gives us a chance to really reflect on the content that we have. Italy Study Abroad, which runs in the month of May, is called Grand Tour Redux. In the 17th and 18th century, when young Americans and British finished their education, the final part of it, kind of their thesis, was to embark on a grand tour, which is essentially where they went to rediscover their classical and Renaissance past. So we recreate the grand tour, we go exactly where they went, but we call it Grand Tour Redux because we look at it in a critical eye. Spain Study Abroad, which is 3 weeks during the month of June, is called Miami, España, Ida y Vuelta. And the class starts really in 1492, when you have this incredible collision of cultures and of biological elements between Europe and the Americas, which essentially creates a new culture, a new way of being, and a smaller world. So you have language, religion, but also just food. And that's a very fun exploration. The France Study Abroad program, which runs the month of July, is called Art, War, and Human Rights. In that program, we look at the shared history of the pursuit of universal human rights between the United States and France. We see the highs and lows, and we also trace that history through art.
When the students arrive, we take them to Johannesburg, and we go with paleontologists and look at ancient prehistoric bones of humans and animals and analyze them for disease. We don't go where the tourists go. We go where the actual Australopithecine bones are found and worked on even today. This is in fact a One Health course where we compare and contrast diseases in humans and in animals and how they're interchanged. We also talk about plants, climate change, and how that impacts on things. And last but not least, it also is a course that concentrates on the important social determinants of health. It would be challenging for a first or second year medical student. We cover in depth some levels of genetic problems in humans and in animals, some mechanisms of diseases that are truly require an individual who is dedicated to learning.
It's a 5-week trip with 3 countries that we go to. So the first one is Thailand, and we go to Bangkok, and we stay about 3 days there. And it's really about some of the national monuments that are absolutely stunning. Then we go to Vietnam, and we do 2 locations in Vietnam, one in the north, one in the south. So a few days in each.
And we had a day of cultural exchange with Vietnamese students, university students.
And then we go to Cambodia, and we do about 2 days in the capital, Phnom Penh, and then we do 3 weeks in Siem Reap, which is where the temples are and where the students go and teach English.
And the students spent those 3 weeks teaching every day to Cambodian students, teaching English.
They learn, I think, as much as they teach from the students.
We are going to Japan, and 10 days in Tokyo and 20 days in Hokkaido, researching reciprocity, helping each other, and then also sustainable community. That is our theme. The reciprocity in the community, they help each other using your ability. And so, students may teach them English, and they will, for return, they can learn their culture. Or I already have, certain not-for-profit organization to teach them how to do tea ceremony, or how to put kimono. In Hokkaido, we are going to visit indigenous people of Japan, Ainu people, And their reciprocity is not only to human, but human to nature, human to animal. We will learn how they start sustainable community. It's very rare to go and visit their village, and we are going to stay there 10 days and learn many things from Ainu people.
We're going to Costa Rica. One of the themes that we have is sustainable tourism. So we look at tourism from the point of view which we don't normally think about it, which is small, community-based, family-based operations which focus on getting people to really interact with Costa Rican people, see the wildlife up close, unstaged, and live eating simple foods. And we also have a service component, and we work with local people who are actually kind of reinventing themselves, usually farmers that are going into ecotourism and starting out. We look at the different kinds of environments in Costa Rica, most of which we visit. We also look at its history and its relationships with indigenous people, because we work with indigenous people.
We are essentially, although it's a short time, living in the country.
I think they gain a real appreciation for the place of each of us as a human being in our world.
One of the most important things that students realize is that it's all about the people. The favorite part is never the touristic part, it's when they go and they meet people.
They get to see how other people see the world.
So some of the most memorable moments for me as we live together is to actually see the students achieve an independence in the country that a few days before they were terrified of walking around alone in.
The students discover about themselves, just going through the trip and experiencing and looking at what's around and things like that. Then they discover about the culture of those countries and the history of those countries that we go to.
So it expands our vision, and my way of thinking, that expands your vision of yourself as well. You grow and you see, in fact, maybe a little more clearly what your role in the world is going to be.
It's transformational. The changes in students from study abroad are ones of cultural appreciation, self-awareness, and also independence.
We get experiences that are things that speak to the heart as well as to our minds. And these expand us in ways which are very subtle, but they really affect how we see ourselves.
I need a student who's ready to learn something truly challenging and life-altering. And every single person who was on that trip with me last year, at one point or another, has said, "This changed my life."